Yo, 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 soldiers of the Boss Army, how are we doing? I welcome us once again to our class. Today, we shall be taking a page from the Good Study Guide for Distance Learners. So, if you are gaining admission into the National Open University of Nigeria, you will be exposed to this particular course. It's a course for everyone coming into the system fresh. So if you are coming in as a 100 level student or 200 level student, like undergraduates, okay, you are going to be doing it. Now, for postgraduate students, be you a PGD, master's, or PhD students, you're also going to be exposed to it. But the course code is going to be different. So, for those that are doing their postgraduate studies, the course code is GST 707. That is, GST 707. And for those that are having it at master's level, it is 807. And for those that are doing it as PhD, it is 907. But the course content remains the same across board. So in today's class, I'm going to be taking us through the initial parts of the course material. And the course material began by telling us little things about open system of learning, or can I say open and distance, learning structure, how it all began. They took us through the history and every story behind it, the, starting from when it was distance education to how it evolved over time from different regions of the world. And of course, there was this exciting part about telling us how it all came to spread into Nigeria. So it's a very, very interesting course. And when you get deeper into the course, you'll be seeing different things about the distance learning that separates it from the normal, conventional, or traditional form of education, and different opportunities that are available for you as a distance learner that you can actually jump at, different study techniques that will work for you, looking at the peculiarity of your own system of learning, and different other things you need to know about the school setting. So please, let's just enjoy our time studying this course. And one thing about this course is that by the time you are even done with the course and passed, so you're done with it, you have passed it, you've moved on, you're still going to be coming back to it. Okay, there are many things you encounter as you progress that will make you see the need to come back and go through the material once again. So this morning, without further ado, let me take you through some of the little things I want to share with us. These were extracted from the course material. So this is just like a summary. If you want to have access to it, I will place a link in the description part of this video, so you can follow that link to get the PDF of this particular file just for your own personal studies and stuff like that. Okay. And for those of us that are students already that are listening to this particular course, I am a support students or learners support service provider. So aside from tutoring and coaching, I also engage myself in consultations. So if you need help with your TMAs and other stuff like that, trust me to be at your service. So there is a link which I'm also going to place at the description of this video. But if you get this PDF, you're going to see the link there as well. You can follow that link to reach us on WhatsApp. You can also send us an email at stewards.okadike@gmail.com. We'll be waiting and we'll be so glad to serve you with our resources. Now, open and distance learning is made up of two different concepts in education. And what are these two concepts? They are distance education and open learning. Distance education and open learning. These are the two principal concepts that made up the open distance learning. Okay. Now the term open and distance learning is made up of two different concepts as you have seen earlier. The first one is distance education. The second one is open learning. So with time, we're going to look at both of them. Okay. So distance education has been around for quite a long time, while open distance learning is more of a recent phenomenon. So it is more recent. All right. So what he's trying to say is that distance education has been existing, it has been there for some time, and open and distance learning just came up not quite long. Okay. Good. Good. Now, what is distance education? Distance education has been around for quite a long time, while open and distance education is just something coming up. Now, according to Commonwealth of Learning, so Commonwealth of Learning is the body that gave us a definition of open and distance learning. So let's see what they said. They told us that open and distance learning as a system of teaching and learning characterized by separation of teachers and learner. Okay, that is to say, it is characterized by separation of teacher and learner in time and or space and uses multiple media for delivery of instruction. So what this is saying to you is that open, what is he saying to you? So what this is saying to you is that in open and distance learning, the teacher, okay, that is the person giving the instruction, just as I'm giving in this particular instance, and the person receiving the information, that's the students, are separated, they are not in the same place. Okay, that is what they mean by separated by space. They're not in the same place, unlike a normal conventional or traditional learning system where you are both in your classroom. Okay, you are in a classroom, in a particular location. No, in this case, they are different. They could be in different environment. And another thing you need to also know is that they are separated by time. So, for instance, as I'm teaching, somebody somewhere that needs this particular class might not be available for this lecture at this particular time. So I do the class with those that are available, perhaps if it's a live class, or I record it and I share. So whenever you are free or you can afford to participate in the class, you can always do that. And then you now leave behind a comment for me. All right. So that is how it is being done in open and distance learning. Now, open and distance learning involves two-way communication and occasional face-to-face meeting for tutorials and learner-to-learner interaction. So that is another thing that we need to know. So it is a two-way communication, all right? There is an information being passed across and there is a feedback being received. So there should be a feedback, there should be a response coming from the learner. And of course, the instructor is supposed to respond to this feedback. So it is, two-way. And of course, there is occasional. There's occasional. So the open distance learning is kind of like a kind of a hybrid, you know, is it, will I call it blended, flipped learning system? It's kind of system where it's not just strictly online. No, there's a difference between that and open distance learning. It's not strictly online. Okay, there is room for occasional physical interaction between the learner and the teacher. Um, yes, in Open University, you do get that. I know that for those of you that are going to be doing science courses, there are some of your courses that you will need to go for practical. You will get physical interaction with, you know, teachers or people that are there to guide you or support you. And there is always room for you to go for tutorials. These tutorials are organized by independent organizations that you can always gain from, but you know you're going to pay extra for it, except if they are making it for free. And some study centers do organize meetings for their students. I know that we'll have some programs that are going to be center exclusive. So some of them could be academically inclined, that is to say, a meeting where you are supposed to come to learn from one another. So what am I trying to say? There will always be this once in a while face-to-face interaction between you and the teacher in this particular study system. So just have that in mind as well. Now, distance education, which is the first concept, all right, yes, in open and distance learning, is a field of education that focuses on teaching method and technology with the aim of delivering teaching to students who are not physically present in a traditional educational setting, such as the classroom. So these people are not, they are within an educational system or educational structure that has provision, for students that are there to learn through the normal, traditional, or conventional style of education. But amongst them, there are some of them that will not be able to afford that regular classroom interaction because of many factors, maybe because of their businesses, family, and other engagements. So there is a provision being meant to extend the school to them wherever they are. Okay, that's why they say it's a field of education that focuses on teaching methods and technology with the aim of delivering teaching to students who are not physically present in traditional educational settings, so that's classroom. So this is a system of education that is being used by regular conventional institutions to reach out to their students, okay, who do not have that provision to join them in the class. So it's like taking the school from the four walls or from the confines of the environment it is located to people that are out there in the world, people that are not within the walls, the four walls, people that cannot afford to confine themselves in that school environment. Okay, so that is the people this is meant for. Okay, so this education is a system aimed at what creating access to learning when time or distance or both separate the source of information and the learners. So when time and distance. But one thing I want you to know is that this particular system works in an existing traditional educational system. So it is not like a new organization. Okay, it's not like a new organization or some kind of structure that is created to attend specifically to students that cannot afford to be in the classroom. No, this system is already a system that is catering for students that are within the traditional system of education. Okay, but they have made extra move to still accommodate those that cannot be in the classroom. So they can do that with the aid of technology or every means possible. Okay, that's distance education for you. Now, for us to have what we have today, that is distance, open and distance learning, this particular education, that is the distance education, had to go through different phases. So there are about three developmental stages that distance education went through. Okay, and this was according to Chelsea. So please, for your examination, you need to learn how to pronounce and spell. Okay, particularly how to spell because you'll be typing. So how to spell this particular name. Chelsea is spelled Schultz. Okay, Chelsea. How to spell it? You need to learn that. Okay. So the earliest appearance of distance education was in the form of corresponding education. So corresponding education was the first. That was the number one stage. So what was this correspondence education? Corresponding this education was when they relied solely or heavily on mail, use of mail to pass learning instruction to the students. So that was how we started. Okay. So today we still have people that communicate learning instruction to people via mail. Okay. So we receive mails giving us instructions and direction on what to do, how to go about it. So it did not start today. It started way back. All right. So if you go through the course material, you're going to be wowed and thrilled with the story of how it all began and where it led us to. So the earliest is the word to correspondence education. Okay, so correspondence education started in the mid 19th century. Okay, yes, in Great Britain, France, Germany, and United States. So these were the countries that started it. Okay, when they say 19th century, please, if you are watching this video and you have watched to this extent, I want you to go to the comment section and tell me when, what years do you call 19th century? So if we say 19th century, are we going to be seeing years like 2007, 2015, okay, 2015, sorry, 1990, 1840, what kind of years or what kind of year, what period of time are we expected to have as 19th century? Okay, so if you know that, drop in the comment section. I'll be glad to see what you have to say about that. Okay, but for the records, I want you to know that we are currently in the 21st century. So we are in the 21st century. So you can, I'm giving you a little bit of an expo. You can do it like, okay, if we're in 21st century, then the last century must be 20th. Okay, the century before that should be 19th. So, do the mathematics. I will be glad to read your comments. All right. Now, according to Chelsea and Embry Riddle, these are two different people in 2008. Early correspondence education as the first recorded form of distant learning exemplified participant interaction through the distribution of printed material through mail. So as I said, it has to do with mail. So passing of what? Learning materials. Okay. And these materials are printed, typed. Okay. Send it to learners via mail. Okay. And we have Sir Isaac Pitman. Okay, this particular figure is a very, very popular one. I remember very well, when I was in junior secondary school, we did business studies, and Pitman shorthand was one of the topics that was taught then. So I actually got familiar with this particular man when I was way younger than I am today. All right. So this particular man, Isaac Pitman, taught shorthand, and he taught it using mail. So he was one of the people that benefited from applying this particular system of learning. That is what the correspondent education, and is known as the first officially recognized attempt at distance education. So they can ask you examination, what did he teach? Tell them he taught short man by using what? Pitman by using correspondence education. Now, the earliest appearance of distance education was in the form of what? Correspondence education, and this was in the year, the years. Yeah, in the years around 19th century, okay, mid 19th century. So, as I said earlier, find out, tell me what years were known to be the period of the 19th century. Okay. So in the 19th century, we had the first attempt at distance education. Okay. Or the earliest. It might not have been the first anyway, but it was the earliest. That means it was among those that were recognized early enough, like were recognized first before many other attempts were coming forth. Sir Isaac Pitman taught shorthand by mail, which is said to be the first officially recognized attempt at distance education. Now, at degree level, the University of London was the first to offer was the first to offer degree through distance education. So, the University of London. Remember, I told you that the distance education was, or yeah, let me just use words because I'm talking about the past now, history. So it started with conventional schools going the extra miles to absorb students or potential learners who had um, difficulties coming into the classroom environment. So this school had normal traditional system working for them. So they had students they were teaching, they were offering degree certificates to. Then, in addition to that, they had this particular distance education program. So when it started, it was not as you saw now. Pittman used it to teach shorthand. Many people were using it for different means. Just to pass, knowledge. But it became something big when we started offering degree certificates through that particular medium. And the first school to actually do that was the University of London. You can ask you in your examination, the first school to offer degree, okay, certificates, using the distance education method is dash. You type in University of London. So the University of London was the first to offer degree through distance education. Okay, now they told us some little bit of history about the University of London and how it came about, being that particular institution that offered the degree using this method for the first time. So they told us that the University of London's external program was established in 1928. So this was a kind of a build up to this particular landmark achievement that they had. Okay. So you just need to know that in 1928, all right, they had their external program, all right, and this program was chartered in 1958. So it started, yes, in 1928, but it was not really like recognized according to the law. It was not really given some constitutional or some legal backings until around 1958. That's some 30 years later. There's some things to be doing and people will be looking at you like, can it work? Can it work? Can it work? Then after some time, they will see that yes, you have been able to sustain it. They will say, oh, let's just give him some legal backing, let's give him some licensing and stuff like that. That was just what happened in this case. Now, away from University of London, let's talk about um, another place. So, in the United States, correspondence study has been a noteworthy component of the University of Wisconsin, okay, Wisconsin delivery system since 1891. So, definitely, it started in UK, University of London, and now we are seeing America, you know, picking it up. And by 1891, the University of Wisconsin already had distance education in place. Now, the foundation of the second stage of distance education was laid during the World War One. So, World War One. Now, another thing I want us to type in the comment section for me is which period, when did the World War One take place? Okay, what place did it take? What time of the year? Or yeah, or what years? Let me think that's a better way to present it. What years did the World War One take place or took place? Yeah, however, okay. Some will tell you 1910 to 1912, some will say 1911 to 1915, whatever. I just want to have it in the comment section. Let me see. All right. Now, I'm doing all this so that even after the class and after watching um, the video, on the comment section, if you're going through comments, you can still learn one or two things. So I want you guys to engage me over there. Now, the foundation of second stage of distance education was laid during the World War One through the invention of radio. So this second stage is moving away from the correspondence. So I've seen that the first stage is the correspondence education. Away from correspondence education, we are moving straight to the next one, which is what? The sound and video signal. So this is where we had radio. Of course, when during the World War, a lot of changes came into the world because the nations that were battling were definitely battling for world power, and they needed to communicate better. They needed to communicate better within their camp. They needed to come out with ways to eliminate their opponents faster. They needed to look for ways to get other countries, to support them. And there were many things that were going on there. So there were a lot of innovations that came up that particular time. And the beautiful thing is that when the war came to an end, some of these innovations started finding relevance in other areas of life. For those of us that are management students, okay, by the time you start studying some of your faculty-based and departmental courses, you will start learning that some of the things that we have as principles and standards in management were actually had their origin, okay, from the war. They were strategies that were developed, okay, during the time of war as a technique to outsmart and eliminate oppositions, as a way to get advantage, as a way to manage things that were coming up that time. And after the war, it became something that people are looking at and saying, wow, this thing can actually be, apply in other organizations outside war or battle related situations. And they started doing it and it started working. So one of the things that we saw came up during that time of war was radio. All right. So the invention of radio, if we check when radio was developed, we see that it wasn't so far away from the timing of the war. All right. And definitely as time progresses, the radio started finding is relevance in other areas of human endeavor, particularly education. So in the United Kingdom, the National University Extension Association was organized in 1916 at the University of Wisconsin. And the first educational instruction by radio was aired in 1916. Okay, so, and this is the period when we had, you know, the First World War. But the first educational instruction was aired on radio in 1916, and the use of radio in distance education became global in 1925. So by 1925, it became something global. Everybody was now using radio to teach. Okay, in the United States started the experimental radio broadcast with College of the Air, which was later renamed University of the Air, in conjunction with the University of Wisconsin in early 1960s. By the end of the decade, 2,000 faculties were participating in various short courses. The use of radio was followed by the use of television. So the it is the sound and video signal phase. So there is a sound. The sound part of it is use of radio, and there is the video, which is television. So the first one is corresponding education, where they use mail. Then we have the sound and video signals, where they use radio and television. All right. So don't forget, booking of TMA is still ongoing. You can reach out to us. Okay, don't leave it late. So we have here a student. All right, this student is learning through radio. So this is what phase? The second phase. So once we get to the third phase, I'll be calling it a day. All right. So this particular person again, or this particular people, Chelsea, and Embry Rideau, said the new 80s space age brought technology which included computers and space satellites, thereby allowing universities to offer adult education programs and refresher courses to students situated thousands of miles from the actual campuses. So students that were far from campuses of um, campuses of universities, all right, were being reached through technology, because by the 1980s, 1970s down, technology has then coming in, computer has been invented, and stuff like that. So it was now very easier. So all this why this education has been existing, but it has been existing through um correspondence, through radio, through television, you know, medium. So they have not really introduced technology. Well, all the radio, television, mail, they are all technology. But when I mean technology, I mean computerized way of doing it. Has not really come to life until this period. So, and that led us to the third stage. So, open and distance learning, um, innovative movement, which we call the open learning, as is open learning as an innovative movement in education, emerged in 1970. All right. So we have been having distance, but open learning came in 1970. That's what they told us earlier, that distance education was like a term, okay, or concept that bettered open learning. So open and distance learning refers mainly to activities that either enhance learning opportunities within formal education system or broaden learning opportunities beyond the formal education system. Okay. So this is where I'm going to be calling it a day. What he's saying is that the open and distance learning, okay, can be within an established formal educational system. Okay. To enhance it, to develop it, to make it more impactful, okay, to bring out the best in it. And sometimes it could go beyond normal formal educational system. It could go beyond it. So Open University works both within formal educational system and beyond it. So if you are coming into the system as a new student, as a fresh undergraduate, or as a postgraduate student that is just coming in for upgrading, to upgrade yourself, you just have to understand that this system of learning is a system of learning that is going to be much, much, much different from what you used to be or used to know, or from what you have always known education or learning to be. All right. But one thing I want you to also understand is that it is not going to like downgrade all your experience. It's not going to bring down or water down all that you have been through. So everything you have experienced, everything you have come to know, everything that made you as a person, okay, is gonna still be relevant. But there are new things that have been introduced to you. There are new things that are going to get to see now that is gonna be a bit different from what you are used to. And that is where we now tell you welcome to open system of learning. So open and distance system of learning is very, very interesting. It's very, very broad, and it has a lot of history. Now, what are you supposed to take out of this class as we end this video? One thing I want you to know is that in open and distance learning, there is always a separation, okay, between the learner and the teacher. All right. Another thing you need to know is that in open and distance learning, there are two primary concepts. Okay, it's like a merger between what they call distance education and open learning. So it is these two concepts that came together to form open and distance learning. Now, distance education has been existing, it has been there way back. All right. Normal traditional educational institutions were using it as a way of reaching out, going beyond the confines of their environment, okay, to locate other learners who do not have the provisions to be in a regular classroom. All right. So that means that distance education has been existing for some time. And as times continue to change, there were changes to distance education, and it kept evolving and evolving and evolving until we now have what we have today, distance and open learning. Okay, so the first stage of distance education was the corresponding. The second was the what? Sound and video. The second one is the sound and video signal. And of course, the third one is the one that is being influenced by technology. So we are going to be, spending more time to talk about this third phase when we come live again. Okay. Mind you, when I say influenced by technology, what I'm talking about is the advent of computer, you know, yes, influence of computer on education, okay, especially the apart from computer, this particular the ICT, internet, social media, their influence, okay, gave birth to what we have today as open and distance learning. So once again, I really appreciate us for our time. All right. Just make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so that when next we come around, you will have something to enjoy. Thanks once again.